Alrighty, ladies and gentlemen, in about 5 minutes, the video presentation will begin in 5 minutes. Thank you. Please find your seats.
everyone, and happy Earth Day. I wish I could be with you today, especially at Villa Woodbine. Oh, such a gorgeous place that just transports you to a magical location, right? I'm sure that there are a lot of people from all over the world who would love to be exactly where you are right now. And since we are now living in this new normal, I love that so many others can join via live stream for the next 2 days. It's a novel way of using technology in order to connect with others and collaborate on innovative solutions to raise awareness for climate change resilience. I want to thank the Bayshore Ingrove Big Community Voices for inviting me to be a part of this very special occasion. A very special thanks to the Earth Day Event Committee, and particularly to Rosie Pujol and Jennifer Diaz-Alzuri. You all have created this wonderful 2-day experience where we celebrate the earth, nature, and our community. And also for the tireless work you do in preserving the history and integrity of our natural surroundings. I wholeheartedly support BIG's belief that real power comes from uniting our voices in order to create a more sustainable future for our community and our world. Many of the wonderful things about living in this area of greater magic Miami is that we have the water, the vegetation, and are surrounded by nature like the beautiful historic trees throughout Villa Woodbine and the Grove. As a proud resident of this area, I feel blessed to be able to enjoy this little piece of heaven on earth every day, especially during this pandemic. I think I, along with so many others, have appreciated nature even more and the beauty and balance it brings to our lives. Also, the simple things like birds chirping and the rustling of the leaves in the wind. Though we as a society are constantly evolving and advancing, connecting to nature is essential to us as human beings, to our health, to our mental health, and our physical well-being. The delicate balance between progress and preservation is important, not only for our benefit, but for future generations. By using creativity and innovation to preserve our earth and environment, we are taking care of this divine gift which we have been entrusted. I am usually asked to speak at events about my office and our smart justice approach to criminal justice. I also speak about our victim-centered and trauma-informed prosecution style, our diversion programs, second chance programs, therapeutic courts, as well as our human trafficking and domestic violence units, which have been studied by others and even replicated. Also, during my tenure as your state attorney, we've not only been able to address issues of crime, recidivism, rehabilitation, and many other issues of importance to our community, but I'm also committed to protecting our environment. In 2019, the grand jury examined and reported on the condition of Biscayne Bay and the Biscayne Aquifer, and it highlighted their importance to our community. The Biscayne Aquifer is the source of our drinking water, while tourism, the main engine that drives our economy, is largely dependent on Biscayne Bay's vitality. In 2017, the Florida Department of Environmental Protection determined that Biscayne Bay is an impaired water body. The health of Biscayne Bay is now at a tipping point, and we need to protect this precious resource. After hearing testimony and reviewing the evidence, the grand jury made numerous recommendations that could be implemented to reverse the declining health of our precious bay and aquifer. They are ensuring that all ocean outfall from the Miami-Dade Water and Sewer Department is ceased by 2025, ensuring that Florida Power and Light continue its efforts to mitigate the underground saltwater plume caused by the Turkey Point power plant that threatens our water supply, connecting the nearly 100,000 unconnected parcels to our water system and sewer system, reducing the amounts of nitrogen and phosphorus that flow into Biscayne Bay, Excessive amounts of nitrogen and phosphorus in the water is causing algae to grow faster than the ecosystem can handle, which reduces or eliminates the amount of oxygen in the water needed by fish and aquatic life to survive. Modernization of the 6,500 miles of aging wastewater pipe infrastructure maintained by the Miami-Dade Water and Sewer Department to prevent the frequent leaks that contaminate our beaches and waterways, forcing officials to close them to protect the public. The creation of a recycling program for single-use plastics, such as water bottles and plastic grocery bags, which are polluting our waterways, canals, and bay. The grand jury report was very well received by the public, and I was proud to serve as its general counsel. It was so well received by also the environmental groups and by those who have the power to actually implement those recommendations. I'm very proud of the work of the grand jurors and my office in putting it all together. If anyone is interested in reading the full report, you can find it on our website, www.miamisao.com. Again, I am incredibly thankful to have been included in Earth for the Ages. Thank you for allowing me to be part of this wonderful celebration. And know that I will continue to protect our natural resources and empower those individuals and organizations that contribute to the resiliency of our great community. Thank you, and God bless.
Hello? Well, I'll just leave it for everybody. I'll just speak loud. So first of all, this is the beginning now of our second part of today. It's a multifaceted approach of how proactive grassroots community engagement can shape conversation and about environmental issues and inspire policy, best practices to improve resilience. For our first speaker, I'd like to introduce Sarah Gauthier. She's a Coconut Grove native. She works now for a company headquartered in California, the co-founder and CEO of Recognized Trading and Shipping, an import-export firm with offices all over the world. RTS specializes in procurement and shipment of hazardous waste containing metals to Hongjing Resources Limited, located in Korea, for purpose of recycling and working to make the world landfill free. Be inspired by a force of nature like no other, Sarah Gauthier.
Good afternoon to one and all present here today. I am here to talk to you about responding to threats on environmental issues. This topic is near and dear to my heart. It is what I have based my livelihood on, what I wake up with every morning, and what I go to sleep thinking about every night. I have been living in California for the past, I wouldn't want to age myself, so let's just say a little bit over a decade, but I was born and raised in Miami. My dad still lives here on South Beach. Hi, Dad. You're crazy. Every time I come home, whether it's for a visit or a holiday, I'm struck by how aesthetically stunning the Grove is. I used to joke that it's a concrete jungle because there's a gorgeous canopy of trees and flowers, yet it's also a vibrant and cohesive city with air conditioning almost everywhere you go. When I was invited to give this speech, I thought, hey, why not look up what a concrete jungle actually is? Let me tell you what I found. Webster's dictionary describes it not the luxurious subtropical canopy that you see before you here today. It is defined as a modern city or urban area filled with large buildings and regarded as harshly competitive. unwelcoming, and a dangerous place. That, in my opinion, is what leveling a historic landmark, it's a landmine to level places like Villa Woodbine. Anyway, what leveling a historic landmine, shit, I did it again. Oh, and I just cursed. Okay, so we all know that countless amounts of indigenous flora and fauna reside here. And to build yet another school, what is the point? Over the next few months, everything we are standing on could be destroyed, increasing traffic and even more congestion and pollution in this area. I would like to thank everyone here today who are standing united in our common interest of protecting the sacred land, especially people like Rose, who are fighting for the right to move freely through the grove under a canopy of trees, free of added congestion, pollution, and noise. I would like to take a moment to congratulate and applaud Rose and her team for achieving intravenous status on the building plans to level Villa Woodbine. As the co-founder of Recognized Trading and Shipping, I am no stranger to the tedious task of cutting through the red tape of bureaucracy, though I'll speak more on that topic later. Perhaps there is a bigger reason as to why we are all meeting here for Earth Day. Our quality of life depends on the quality of our natural environment. And our quality of life is under attack. Due to all of humans' activities, our planet is becoming less sustainable. Therefore, it is everyone's duty and responsibility to help protect the planet for future generations. The defense of Villa Woodbine is an excellent example. Do we really need another school in the Grove at the expense of destroying the native flora and fauna that play a vital role in protecting Miami's coastline, which, as I'm sure you all know, is rapidly degrading? Some may ask, why save the mangroves? They're just a swamp. But they provide the backdrop to not only our historic Villa Woodbine, but the answer to that question is that the mangroves are vitally important to Coconut Grove and Miami because they help prevent the erosion of our coastal ecosystem and absorb storm surge impacts during hurricanes. The complex root systems filter nitrates, phosphates, and other pollutants from the water, thus improving the water quality of the Biscayne aquifer. I've been drinking tap water since I got here, which I never do in LA. And it's been delicious and super hydrating. That wasn't in my notes. Mangroves also capture massive amounts of carbon dioxide and other greenhouse gases from the atmosphere, convert these gases to carbon-rich soil. Ironically, when mangroves are destroyed, they release massive amounts of carbon dioxide back into the atmosphere, contributing to global warming. Destroying the planet's ecosystem risks putting everything out of balance, and it is not sustainable. Sustainability is the key to life. Otherwise, it's just temporary. This realization is what led me to co-found Recognized Trading and Shipping, to fill an unmet need for the safe transport of hazardous waste across international boundaries for recycling. We prevent valuable metals from being landfilled simply because it is considered hazardous waste by the EPA. For example, nickel and molybdenum are both extracted out of the ground and used to make catalyst that is used to refine gasoline and jet fuel. Once the catalyst is used, it's typically disposed of by sending it to landfill. Due to the high cost for the disposal of hazardous waste, some companies avoid international regulations. By eliminating the waste classification and then exporting the spent catalyst to unsuspecting countries that don't have the proper environmental practices in place to deal with the harmful hazards of the catalyst or the environmental impact caused by the reclamation process. What sets RTS apart, Recognized Trading and Shipping, is that we have partnered with an internationally environmentally approved hazardous waste recycling facility in South Korea, and we export the hazardous waste under the classification of hazardous waste in full compliance with all international regulations. Once the waste is received, it's processed and the metal is reused to make chemicals that are sold back into the chemical manufacturing industry. Once these metals are used, RTS can ship the hazardous waste back to South Korea to start the whole process over again, thus creating a floating ore mine back into it. I lost the thing. Oh well. It goes into landfill, and it can either seep into the groundwater table, or when the rain comes, it goes back up and creates acid rain that goes, and it's also used, a lot of people put it into road slag, so they're using our road systems as basically temporary landfills. So is it the asphalt? Yeah, it is. It's pretty messed up. How enforced is it in the U.S. that they comply with these regulations? It's so enforced in the U.S. that we don't have Rose, you're putting me on the spot here. We don't really have the recycling facilities here that can handle this type of waste. So would that be federal? It would be federal. Yeah. All right, hang on, let me get back to my notes. So, floating ore mine, instead of mining back into our precious planet for raw materials. Recognized Trading and Shipping has earned the trust of the major steamship lines. Very important for the safe overseas transport of hazardous waste. And with offices in the United Kingdom, Australia, Korea, and Canada, Recognized Trading and Shipping can permit and ship hazardous waste from all over the world. True sustainability involves keeping what's in use, and Recognized Trading and Shipping is a world leader in providing metal-bearing hazardous waste generators with economically competitive and environmentally sound recycling options, thus eliminating the need to landfill. When I was growing up in the Grove, I enjoyed hanging out here, lounging under the canopy of trees, climbing in banyans, kayaking and playing in mangrove swamps. There is a reason the Historical Society preserved this place. It's beautiful. Places like this need to be preserved so that my daughter, who is here with us today, say hi, Sophia, can enjoy the same things I enjoyed when I was growing up. Sustainability is preserving what we have for future generations. Many thanks to all of the environmental warriors who are out there fighting the good fight. I salute you, and I thank you. Through CHUMEG, they're a third-party independent auditor that's approved by the EPA, and they went to South Korea and approved the facility as a responsible recycler. There's 2 other in the world, and my company is one of 9 in the world who does what I do. Yes. I do not deal with African policy. Yes. Yes. It's mainly going on in China. Yeah. I'm kind of calling out like some big dogs right now. Like, anyway, no big deal.
So in Miami, any ideas in Miami what we as a community could do to support the Is that about speaking to politicians and just giving them information, giving them access to?
I would say speak to your local oil refineries and ask them to responsibly recycle their waste instead of landfilling it, and contact Recognized Trading and Shipping to transport the waste, because we do it best.
Companies doing it here.
I don't believe so, no. Not the way we do it. Yes, the man in the hat.
Thank you, Sarah. My question is in terms of landfill oversight. It sounds like part of the equation is poor oversight. Thank you, Rose. Poor oversight of what goes into a landfill.
Yes.
And that's a federal, that's an EPA issue?
Well, I mean, I specifically deal with California, so it's regulated by the DTSC as well as the EPA, and we are the most highly regulated state in the country when it comes to this type of thing. Honestly, I hate to burst you guys' bubble, but landfills are basically just holes in the ground where people dump their junk, and then it seeps into the groundwater table, and nobody seems to care.
Correct.
Yeah.
And the better they were regulated, the better your business would be, because companies couldn't get away with dumping whatever they want, and landfills would have to charge appropriately for running environmentally responsible sites.
I mean, what I would prefer is that if someone mines certain metals or, natural resources out of the ground, that they keep it out of the ground and they keep reusing it. They keep it in circulation. They don't put it back into the ground. I mean, why mine something when you can use it again,
Yeah, so the more expensive it is to
It is
dump
quite
it.
expensive, but I think the world is worth it. I think our
Right.
future generations are worth it.
No, yeah, but the more expensive it becomes, the more viable recycling is.
Pardon?
The more expensive it is to eliminate these byproducts of mining in a landfill, or these elements of the process of you said of jet fuel.
Jet fuel and gasoline
refining. So the less they're able to landfill, the more likely they are to look at recycling as an option.
That would be great. Right now, it's cheaper for them to landfill, you know?
That's the problem.
They just throw it in the ground. They don't care. I care.
Thanks.
RTS cares. Yes.
Hi again.
Hi.
So, you know, just going up our main highway 95, and you see landfills over here, and you know it's coming because you kind of get the smell in the car of rotten eggs, and it's, you know, you see the gas.
Oh,
kind
the
of,
sulfur.
yeah, the gas
Yeah.
sort of pipes
Yeah.
with the flames to kind of eliminate explosions, I assume. So,
Well, this year has been crazy because of COVID, so they've been having to do controlled burns from refineries
Yeah.
because people aren't using the gas, but they have the pipelines in place, and the gas, the pressure is building, and you can't just stop it. You know, like
so you have to, like a relief valve sort of thing.
Yeah, they do controlled burns.
But is there any possible, so now that we've got some of these landfills, you know, that are capped, right? They kind of green grass capped to protect us from what's in the landfill. Is there a way to rehabilitate it and kind of take all of those things and sort it so the metals can be sorted and the trash can be sorted and sort of de-landfill the landfill?
You know, that's an excellent question, and that's something that my company will be working on in the future, because, you know, that, as I was talking about a floating ore mine, that's actually like a landfill ore mine.
Yeah, it's like mining the landfill for the stuff that's already been buried.
Yeah.
And
Because
how to
we don't
pull-
want to create more trash, and we don't want to keep mining. I mean, the mining process is horrendous for the environment.
That's a cool idea anyway.
Thank you.
I was just going to ask you how much of this is in the infrastructure bill that's in Congress right now.
Pardon?
That's a big question. How much of this is addressed in the infrastructure bill that is in Congress right now?
None of it, as far as I know. Really? Yeah. No, I mean, I am at the forefront of this industry. I've been working on this off and on for the past 15 years, my co-founder for the past 30 years, but we've been on the fringes. This is not something that people have really addressed or been concerned with, quite honestly. And it's something that needs to be recognized.
Labor cost obviously is an important factor in trying to do the recycling, where somebody can spend the time to separate different parts, components of an item. In the past, I think what I understood is that we would send it to China, and because the labor cost was much lower, they were able to do a lot of this.
I think it may have been a little bit to do with their environmental policy wasn't quite as strict.
Okay.
Yeah.
If there was awareness, and then because we are a high mass consumption society, if we, instead of throwing away a radio that no longer works well, we were able to do something to change that. Is there something in your mind with how we can take that from items that are throwaway to somehow repurpose?
There definitely is. Right now, I'm completely focused on the hydrotreating catalyst to refine gasoline and jet fuel, but I am definitely working on batteries, solar panels, things of that nature that are, you know, pretty gnarly things to ship. I mean, you can't get on a plane with a hair iron. Have you guys tried to get on a plane with a Dyson Corral hair straightener? It's, yeah, the ion battery. No, you can't.
Okay, sorry, keep asking more questions. But so now that, you know, we've all gotten used to the, I don't know, annual pick up your electronics routine that cities sometimes have.
Yeah.
Right? And whether we do that or not, that's a whole nother collection of bad stuff that doesn't get recycled properly.
Exactly.
So now we're moving into a new kind of era of electric cars.
Yes.
Whose batteries are the size of a mattress.
Dude.
So
I have nightmares every night.
So as these, I mean, we're on the very beginning of
Do you
this.
see the bags under these eyes? Hang on a minute. Hello.
So let's say 5 years, like everybody does, they kind of get bored of their car, they get bored of their iPhone, whatever it is they're
Right.
bored of.
Yeah.
That car goes away and they buy another car
Yeah.
with another battery.
Yeah.
So I guess like there's a whole nother frontier that we haven't even, that's coming. And I just don't know if there's any programs or things in place. And it sounds like
I am working on
you're
it.
working on that one too. Awesome.
I got you, girl. I am doing it.
Perfect.
In my sleep, in my dreams, and in reality.
Yeah.
Any other questions?
So you were saying that the United States and California specifically is kind of one of the better places for this recycling. Are there any other countries that are doing this right now? Is China?
No, not China. South Korea, what up? But Germany is great. The Netherlands are great. The problem is logistics. I mean, right now the ports are super congested because we've got PPE coming in from China. Everyone needs their face masks. They need all of their personal protective equipment. Also, we've got all kinds of just home gyms, I don't know, couches, throw pillows coming in from Amazon. All of the ships are completely congested, and I cannot get my material on a boat. It's nuts. Hey, MSC, I'm looking at you, baby. Oh, and Hyundai, you too. Anyway. Yes. Oh my God, it was a nightmare. It completely jammed up our shipping. It was horrible because we couldn't get anything out of the Port of Houston. Everything was a storm surge. So, Mother Nature, you have to take that into account as well. I have an international shipping company. Like, we are at the mercy of Mother Nature, and we are also attempting to help Mother Nature. Isn't she beautiful?
When you say everything is getting dumped into the landfills, do you know how long it takes for those things to kind of start not really necessarily decomposing, but like leaking into the environment and over the course of time? Because I know there's also a lot of radiation associated with that, especially with batteries.
No, absolutely. I don't have direct access to that information, hence the fever dreams.
And is there a way for this to get to a global scale? I know that it's kind of regulated by state and by country, but is this possible to go global?
I believe it could be. Let's work on that, Rachel.
Yeah.
Any other questions? Yes.
This one's more easy, but how did you get into what you're doing? It's a pretty specialized thing.
Industry, yeah.
Yeah.
I heard about it offhandedly and realized that it was an impetus, I saw the need for it. I had the forethought and thought that this was something that the world was going to need. My mom is also a huge, environmental nut. And, so she sort of planted that in my head at a very young age. But really, honestly, it was probably my co-founder and partner, Kevin Berry, who described the practices of wastewater treatment facilities from places that I won't mention at this podium because I don't want to get in trouble. But yeah, I was just like, something needs to be done. And I think I am the woman to fix it.
While you're here, can you swing over by Sarasota and Tampa? They've got some problems. Just maybe stop by, give them a little hint on how to figure out what to do with the contaminated water they've been keeping in the,
let's exchange email addresses and let's work on it. Okay, cool.
Just swing by, say hello.
Yeah, no, that sounds great. I mean, honestly, this is something that affects all of us. You know, this is our planet. This is where we live. These are our plants, our trees. I don't know. I love life. Yes.
Sarah, can I just add that we all need to look at our own consumption of everything we consume because it starts with us?
Oh my gosh, absolutely. Learn how to fix your stuff. Okay? Get yourself like a little toolkit, you know. Don't throw away stuff just because it's old or you think it's janky or you think it's outdated. Like, please. Learn how to be resourceful. Learn how to work on your own. I would say something if my daughter wasn't here, but I think you guys can all like figure out what I'm thinking. Yes.
Yes, thank you. I'm jealous. I didn't grow up in a generation that women could do these things.
Thank you.
So I'm jealous. And
I appreciate that.
Yeah.
I mean, and I hear you.
I watch a lot of Smithsonian and Nat Geo and stuff like that. And it just came to my mind now hearing you. I heard, and I believe it's true, but that textiles are the biggest polluter on Earth.
Textiles. Well, I do not handle that industry.
Of course, yeah. And along with that is...
But I'll take a look at them.
And along with that is sneakers.
Okay.
Recycling. Yeah.
So would you like me to take their heads?
Yes.
No, I'm just kidding. I'm sorry. I didn't.
Just in general, do you know how much is actually recycled in the United States? Of like how much trash there is, like how like.
No, I don't have access to those numbers. You'd have to contact the Environmental Protection Agency.
And then I know you said California is one of the best. Do you know one of the worst states?
I would love to tell you the answer to that, but that might like put a ding in my business, so I'm not going to do that.
Okay.
I'm not a narc. But I will get them.
Yes, you will.
Mm-hmm. Anyone else? Hiya.
Related to this, it seems like the root of the problem is consumption. And
yes.
That's certainly something that not America, but all the Occidental world, including some metropolis in Asia, are starting to feel the pleasure of consuming and disposing and going through that cycle. But I have two experiences that I want to share with you. I had the chance to visit Cuba, and of course they are under horrible oppression and they're put to a stream, but they do recycle everything, just because they don't have the money, they don't have the power.
They're resourceful.
Their trash bags in Cuba are like our sample of a little teeny paper bag that is for a whole family of four. Their trash is minuscule.
Mm-hmm.
There is any country or in the Occidental world that we should look after as an example? That
I wish I could give you an answer, but I honestly don't have one. I mean, I would say California, but we're hypocrites.
And also, actually, 2 weeks ago, I saw a very interesting documentary film about the life of Confucius.
Okay.
Which I never knew who he was or what he did.
Right.
I encourage everybody to take a look.
Yeah.
Because it's extremely interesting that I thought he was a philosopher or or a religious guy. Well, Confucius was a person who thought about teaching people how to run public offices, to become politicians, and to run their society in a more prolific way and respectful way. Very interesting life, because it makes sense that the people who are empowered to run for office and help us to run our communities and our societies should have sort of a training of moral standards that are more than the power of being who you are.
I absolutely agree. Yes.
And Confucius was, in the past century, the communists abolished him completely because he was not good.
Right.
And now they realize that, yes, he is good. And some Chinese companies start taking part of Confucius' training into their own congregations and offices and employees.
I am very happy to hear that.
So I invite everybody to look into it.
Okay.
And see that the problem goes way back to who we are as a society and what we want to do with our life and our community. But it's a group effort.
Absolutely.
All right.
Yeah. Right on, man.
Yeah.
Thank you, Rose.
Hello. Our second speaker for today is Magnus. I am not going to say your last name because I cannot even. So I'll just say it. Magnus is a true Earth hero. As a founder of Team Paradise Sailing, a nonprofit, he truly is transforming lives through the sport of sailing. He provides sailing opportunities and education for everyone at all ability levels. Programs are specifically tailored for veterans with disabilities and others with physical and or intellectual development disabilities, as well as for the under-resourced youth in our community. Time spent with Team Paradise allows you to unplug and reconnect you with nature and with yourself. Magnus, it's all yours. That is you. Now let me say your last name.
Hello, everybody. Thank you, Rose, for doing what you do. It's fantastic. I support you every inch of the way, every mile of the way, too, for that matter. Thanks for inviting me here to speak today. It's fantastic. And what I can say is happy Earth Day birthday. I had my birthday recently, and that was on a Saturday, on March 6th, and it turned into be birthday weekend. And then it turned into be birthday week. And lo and behold, if we didn't party the whole month, out of my horoscope. Everybody was invited. You just didn't come. But anyway, what I'm saying is that perhaps we should have a Earth Day every day of the year. Always be concerned about it and always think about how the footprint we leave behind. Anyway, I'm not going to do my notes too much. I'd rather speak from the top of my heart. So I'm a sailor, and I sailed my whole life, and I've been a lot on waters around the world, and I've seen a lot of stuff. I didn't break any record at doing this, but I still have done a whole bunch of it. And when I was 16 years old, I sailed with my dad from Sweden, where I'm from, and we sailed down to the Canary Islands and over to Cape Verde Islands. They're just west of Africa. and then we sailed across. It was like 3,500 miles, and it took a little over 2 weeks and 1 hour actually to Barbados, and then we came up here. And I didn't stay at that time, but I came back in 1977 and moved here finally in 1980. So I've been here for quite a few years, and I've been in Miami all the time except 9 months I lived in Fort Lauderdale, but I couldn't stand it. So, yeah, so you're talking about pollution and how that affects what we see of that. And I can tell you, when you approach Miami, you see this gigantic orange, sort of pinkish color, just a cloud over it, and that's all the exhaust from cars and from whatever else pollution that goes up into the air. But it's not specific to Miami. This phenomenon happens if you're outside of Rio de Janeiro, or it happens, any big metropolitan area has the same thing. So it's not a unique circumstance. Anyway, fast back to where I grew up in Sweden. My mom was a nurse, and they're both deceased, of course. I'm of that age, where you say you rarely have your parents anymore. And my dad was a shop teacher, and they had a summer house on this Isle of Tjörn, which is about an hour north of Gothenburg, Sweden, where I came from. And that was a nice house on the water, but it was very, very sort of simple place. There were no running water, for instance. We had an outhouse, but we did have a well on the property too. So we drank good water, but we had to go out in a bucket and pick it up. So on this, and we had the garbage. There was no garbage pickup, for instance. So we went to the water when there was an offshore breeze and just dumped it in there, and so that would drift it out and eventually would sink. But this was back in the mid-'60s, or in the early 60s too, for that matter. But we didn't really know much about it, and there were no plastic bags in there. It was all biodegradable, except we didn't really know that word, biodegradable. Who cared? But it was all sort of organic stuff, and so it was not a problem. But had you done that today, I bet you'd be arrested right away. If you did that in Sweden today and neighbors saw you dump your garbage in the water, you'd be going to jail. Maybe not for long, but you're going to make a visit. That's a penalty. Anyway, Tjörn, did you guys ever hear about this bridge that collapsed in north of Gothenburg? There was a freighter that ran into the foundation and the whole bridge came down. And that was in 1980, like in January, I think. And that was very nearby where we had our house. And 4 months later, that bridge, the Skyway Bridge over in Tampa or St. Petersburg, and that came down, just like an identical accident. And I haven't heard of one since. It's funny or crazy how that could be like so close to one another and in different parts of the world. So nobody remembers that? I think you do over there, right? Yeah. You never heard of the one in Sweden? Okay. So I came here and started working with sailing because that's what I know how to do. I always figured, not always, but eventually I became old enough to figure out that if I work with something that comes easy to me, maybe I can get good at it. So I sort of fed the skills that I had. I focused on them to do better and sort of dropped the chemistry class and some things that I had or accounting, for instance. I was always a lousy accountant. But I was good in gymnastics and weightlifting and whatever. But sailing, I sort of excelled in. I went on to win a medal in the Sydney Olympics in 2000. And it just had the perfect timing for me. My wife had passed away the year before, and really I needed something to put that behind me. And so going to the Olympics was a good thing, because that was like, yes, changed everything for me. And while I was in Sydney, sailing was a demo sport for the Paralympics. So if you're not in the Paralympics or Olympics, you know, the Paralympics is a version of the Olympics, except it's for people with physical disabilities. It's not the Special Olympics, but it's Paralympics. So it was a demo sport, and I thought it was really, really neat. So when I came back from the Olympics, I figured I'd been working with an organization down the street and volunteered, Shake a Leg Miami over here. And I just figured that, you know, maybe I should do something like that. I continued to volunteer off and on. But in 2005, I started an organization just to support. Our original mission was to provide equipment and coaching support to disabled athletes, no matter where they were from. So, and I kind of took that concept from the Olympics, because at the Olympics, when you walk into the stadium at the opening ceremonies, you all march behind the flag. And when the closing ceremony comes around, nobody walks, everybody's dancing in, and the flags are everywhere, so it's not defined at all. So in essence, there's no borders, and that's the Olympic sort of philosophy, that it tears down borders versus put up borders. And so I came back in 2005, created Team Paradise, and how did I find the name Team Paradise, by the way? Well, it's, you know, Paralympics, paraplegics, para. Let's see, I live in Miami, Paradise. Oh, yeah, Paradise. That's got to be a good name. And I think it's a pretty cool name, don't you? Yeah, it's like where you want to be, Paradise. And we focused on the Paralympic Games. And the first Paralympic Games that I was part of was in 2008. That was in China. And when the result became final, out of the 3 Paralympic classes, we had gold in 3 classes. And we even had earned a piece of a bronze medal for the Canadian team in the Scud 18 class. So we did really cleaned house. And also, as from being an Olympian, you learn that it's not just you that are the great one. As a matter of fact, you have a lot of people to thank. It's because of them you got there. It's like because you wanted to. That's sort of the basic thing you have to do, but you also got to have people to support you, such as parents, husbands, teachers, employers. There's a lot of people. So I'm not taking all the credit for what they did, but certainly if it wasn't for us, it would have been a lot more difficult for them to get away with it. That's for sure. So, and our success continued to 2012. We won a silver medal with a team from Tampa in London. The sailing was over in Southampton, because it's rarely ever where the main Olympics is going. Like in Munich back in '72, the sailing was in northern Germany. And but in Sydney and in Athens, the Paralympics were exactly where the sailing was exactly where the main Olympics was going, where the main stadium was. Barcelona is another example in '92. But for instance, here when the Olympics were in '96 in Atlanta, we sailed in Savannah. I didn't sail at that time. I didn't qualify. By the way, I tried for 28 years to get to the Olympics. That's a long time, right? The average age was 37. I was 46 at the time, or 45, somewhere in there. And so you kind of got to be boneheaded and stick with the plan. And I have never really regretted it. So I'm happy with my past in that sense. And then finally in 2016, the sailing as equipment in the Olympics were eliminated. So 2016 was the last time in Rio de Janeiro that we sailed in the Paralympic Games. And my first friend in this whole thing was Ricky Dorr, and his team ended up winning the silver medal in the sonar class. It's a 3-person keelboat. And he was just as happy. He had gone on since like mid-'80s to try to win big regattas and do stuff, and he finally got it, and it was very inspiring. And so we had to change our path where we were going, and we decided to move away from Shaker Leg, and we moved into the sailing center, which is over here in Kennedy Park, right next to Coral Reef Yacht Club. And started focus on disabled veterans, because figured you've got to do something with disabled. That's what we were working with. So we added on special needs, our special needs population. By the way, these days you got to be super careful how you characterize these different groups. I don't quite get it, but it's very important. Like under-resourced, we now call scholarship kids, because they get the scholarship. They don't pay. They come and sail with us. So we retrimmed our course, or retrimmed our sails, and we changed a little bit how we did things. And we also became accredited in 3 different categories by U.S. Sailing, which is our national governing body for our sport. And that has been very helpful. So we're accredited as a sailing school, as a sailing center, and I got nothing to do with running the sailing center we're in. We're merely tenants there. And also as a Siebel Center. Siebel Center is an organization created, it's a big grant by Tom and Nancy Siebel, who made a lot of money, and they sent some of the money on to U.S. Sailing. And so they started these different regions in the country, and where no less than 50% has to be scholarships, and the others could be whatever. And they have like this unbelievable curriculum on how to do things. And when you start changing around, and all of a sudden you got kids coming around, it's very important to know how to deal with them and to keep them busy. And we all know a curriculum, how important it is. It's almost like as important as notes are to a speaker. It would be better if the notes were like up here somewhere. But so we did that, and we ended up, year before COVID, we had 550, or in 2019, if you look at that as a calendar year, we had 550 unique named kids participating. But only because that we don't have enough designated space or over where we are. So our boats gets moved around, and we can't always use them and stuff. So if we were to get a little more land where we could grow our program, we could the number would raise exponentially what we could do. And it's hard to say how many could you do. Well, I don't know. The first day, maybe not so many more, but certainly with a little bit of a aspect, a little bit of time passing by, we could do thousands of kids every year. So that's what we're looking at now. In order to expand, we have a good mission. We have some of the most unbelievable. In a short period of time, we got some really collaborating partners that we work with. Some of the bigger names are the Breakthrough Miami kids. They love to come and sail with us. They were there last weekend, and so were the kids from Camilla's house, and another program from City of Miami called CARE. So we feel like we have really good partners in this, and we also work with, enjoy a grant with Miami-Dade County Parks and Rec to take veterans out sailing. And by the way, we're the only organization in the area that enjoys that kind of a support from Miami-Dade County. So we come a long way in that. I can't reveal any of these pictures. I could send this around here afterwards, perhaps. But anyway, so when I first got this assignment, I was really confused. What am I going to talk about? So having listened to the previous speaker, I realized that I better turn this into talk about a little more about what my experience is with the water and how I see things. Because we take kids out and we try to teach them. We have a little bit of a STEM program going. You all know what that is. And so we take them out on the water, and my favorite way to address sailing or try to explain it is, and you can probably guess it, but what has a fin in the water and a wing in the air? Anyone? Sailboat. Bingo. Yes. You're going to look at my picture later. No, but it's a simple thing, and so we are like a boat. If you're in a boat, you're in between being in the water and you're above the water. So it's sort of something that we encourage kids to do. And I cannot believe how, since I'm here only because of Biscayne Bay, I tell you that much. I came with on my honeymoon, just the final time I came. And I've been there ever since because of Biscayne Bay, because I brought a boat with me. I brought my honey on my boat. And I've sailed there ever since. And so when I go out to school pre-COVID and talk about the fin in the water and the wings in the air, these people, Biscayne Bay, and they are only 5 blocks from the water, or 10 blocks, or just on the other side of I-95, or very close. They don't know about Biscayne Bay. So I feel it's very rewarding to take these kids out and teach them. So what do we teach them? Well, we teach them how to sail, but that's not the most important thing. The most important thing is them to open up their eyes for nature and learn to treat nature in a certain way and preserve it and be like the seakeepers of it. And so we teach them about current, and we prove to them that the earth is round, really. How do we do that? Anyone? Huh? Yes, but we, more specifically, we sail towards Soldier's Key. And so you say, we're going to sail to this island over here. It's right there. Well, there's no island over there. Yes. So we get closer and closer. Sure enough, the island pops up. So it's a little bit simple things to get them interested. And like I say, it's not all about sailing, because there's so many things you could do on the water, including swimming in it. And many of them have never swum. And to see a kid that comes and is reluctant at first to get in the water, but they eventually get in. And then the most common question would be, when we come back, can we go swimming again? So they love it. So it's an easy sell, really. And the thing is that there's an unlimited amount of these kids in the city, especially after COVID. They have nowhere to go, especially the homeless, especially special needs. They're very vulnerable. They haven't done anything other than Zoom meetings or whatever. So, and we teach them about the current. We have the Gulf Stream going out here. We all know that, right? Starts in the Gulf, goes around, and it goes over to where I'm from in Scandinavia. And it goes on down the European coastline and even down to Africa. So this is like a big world that goes around. And the most significant thing with the Gulf Stream is that it totally changed the summers on the Swedish west coast and the Norwegian west coast. You think that we have polar bears walking around, right? Because latitude-wise, Stockholm is like on the same latitude as Alaska. Alaska, yeah. What's the capital of Alaska? Anchorage. Same, thank you. Same latitude as Alaska. And so the current helps us also with 5 knots, can you imagine, that is like a vacuum cleaner that goes by out here. You know, the water goes out there and bam, is gone. And you compare us to where we are, compare that to the Florida West Coast where they got that red tide. the poisonous water, basically. It's very unappealing. Here, it's beautiful. I remember sailing in the Bahamas and early on and flying over there with Sharks Airway. We all remember Sharks Airway, right? Yeah. So when you come back and you look and you fly over the Bahamas and you see all this beautiful blue, green, turquoise water, and then you come close to Miami and it's like brownish. So it's not so appealing. But when you live here and you can really compare it in the same picture, if you will, I got to say the water here looks pretty good to me. It was the best during COVID when nobody was out there. It really, fish just came back, and that's why it's like completely insane that they rent out these jet skis, like 6-10 of them are coming in a row, just for like motorcycles, like bees, like wasps, just wrecking everything. Correct. Yeah. So, I don't know. They said to me early on, I've heard that say there's sharks in the bay. And by the way, I think I've sailed, they say it takes 10,000 hours to get good at something. I sail 150 days a year. I've done this for, I don't know, maybe 20, 30 years, something like that. And before that, it may have been less every year, but it was still a lot. So I have many hours on the water, especially here in Miami. And I've never seen a shark in Biscayne Bay. Yeah, people are telling me, oh, they'd be afraid there's sharks here. How could I not have seen a shark but all that time I spent here in Miami, in Biscayne Bay? How could that be? No, I'm on top of the water, but I'm very close to the water, so I really see it. But I see dolphins, I see stingrays, we have all kinds of fishes, and I heard you mentioned earlier that how bad it is fishing-wise. I see a lot of fish when I'm out there. So I'm just trying to help you a little bit here. Sometimes don't get panicked that everything is about to die, because it isn't. The seagrass, the bottom, I'm not an expert enough really to talk about it, so I'm going to stop short. But I'm the optimistic guy as always. I cannot go negative ever. So I like to see that there is light at the end of the tunnel somewhere. I would agree with that we got to adjust what we do and try to do better. But it's a complex problem. I mean, if you're going to try to solve this, then you better quit your day job for sure. And I can also say that out of the different places I've been sailing, again, this is not a world record by any means, but in Germany, I know those lakes, they have this Clean Water Act. They're super clean. You can't use any old engines like they do here that just drip oil into the water. They're super clean. Earlier, previous speaker asked about what the cleanest country is. Well, it has to be Switzerland. Switzerland is just unbelievable. It's too much. If you think you park your car correctly, somebody's going to walk up and say, well, you're not really parallel to the curb here. And when you go, one of the yacht clubs there on one of the lakes, when you eat in this particular place, you take your plates and you go and put them over there. But then it's very important that you get rid of the food remains, and that you put the fork in one bucket and the knife and the spoon. So it's just really, really organized. And so that's all fine and dandy. Sailing in Naples, Italy, for instance, it looks like looking into, it's like when you have these big parades where they throw up the confetti in the air and you can't really see because there's so much crap in the air or some whatever, paper and stuff. That's what it looks like when you look into the Mediterranean Sea there. You have Naples, and you have the Pompeii, where the volcano Vesuvius is. And then you have Isle of Capri, which is like unbelievable. But you look down at the water, it has that deep deep blue color, but a lot of debris in it, and that's so sad. You wish that you could somehow put a fine fish net and just collect it all. Rio is super dirty. It's so dirty, it's just ridiculous. There's just dead things floating around. But and they wander out and they come back in, and wander out and come back in. But when you get outside of that, then you have wonderful water. So, and there are other places. I think California, San Francisco has also a big tide that kind of keeps the water fairly clean, it seems to me. But you don't see, the bay here is only 5 feet around the perimeter here, close to shore, maybe about a mile out, it's 5 feet only, and then it becomes the deepest part is like 12 feet. So you see the bottom everywhere. And you see how this big, you wonder where all that seagrass is coming from that you find, like weed. And that is because these oversized yachts that tear up the bottom of the sea and everything that's on it. And so there's a lot of things that could be done like that to make this a better place, for sure. Yeah, I didn't even look at my notes.
I think it's a good time for you to tell us how we can join you.
Oh, okay. Well, you know, we're in the park. We offer adult sailing classes. We give a keelboat certification classes for beginners, like serious beginners. And if you know a little bit, it's a perfect thing to kind of refresh your knowledge a little bit. And then we have a performance class and Spinnaker endorsement that comes over and above that. We have one product where you can go out, you can bring a family of 5 for 3 hours for $300, and we take you out sailing, and it could become a little bit of a sailing lessons for those of you that want to do that. But if not, it's a viable way for a family to get a break from everything and come out and be sort of within your same bubble. I do think that, like where we are with the kids and with veterans, we're mostly outdoors now. When we used to go in the classroom, but now we're always working outdoors and talking to one another. Somebody comes to my office, okay, let's step outside. So, yeah, so we have a few different things for you if you ever would be interested. And then we got the life jackets too. Thank you. Oh, any questions from the crowd? It's got to be something. That was the question? Well, there's no membership fee or anything, okay? That's the good news. Well, thank you for having me. Thank you.
Our third speaker is going to be Chris Root, and she works for the Dage Heritage Trust. Oh, my fault. Wait. Yeah, I got it. Sorry. Dage Heritage Trust will host a unique Miami Urban Tree Trekkers live Zoom virtual tour at Villa Woodbine featuring the importance of trees at Coconut Grove. Students will explore the unique environmentally protected properties, distinct habitat, and learn the science behind tree canopy and carbon emission mitigation. They will have the opportunity to observe how estimates of tree carbon storage are calculated and explore the site's unique geological features, such as its Silver Bluff. MUTS is a multidisciplinary K-12 program designed to educate students about the benefits of the local urban forest, and the native habitats that make South Florida so special.
No? There it is. Okay. So, Miami is all about environment, built environment and natural environment. And so, since environmental preservation is in everybody's consciousness, we developed this program called Miami Urban Tree Trekkers to get kids involved in understanding the importance of trees. We also received a grant from the Miami Foundation and Mayor Daniela Levine Cava's office to actually put together an advocacy project for further preservation of trees countywide, and it's called the Miami Canopy Coalition. So with the dollars that were funded, we've hired 2 land use and environmental attorneys to look at tree preservation policy and procedure throughout the county and to see how we can strengthen tree protection policies. Obviously, trees are always in the news. I know there were just 2 major oak trees cut down on the very controversial Wawa gas station project in Coral Gables. And I take transit. I went carless by choice about 12 years ago, so I take transit and ride my bike, and thank God for Uber also. But as those transit-oriented development projects march up US 1, I don't know if you've noticed, but every single tree in every one of those development projects has been decimated. There's a few royals hanging out at the Coconut Grove station still, but beyond that, all of those trees, over 80 trees were taken out of the Douglas Road station. So obviously, those are Miami-Dade County projects, and there are ways that people can design around trees to protect trees. Trees provide so many benefits that any person with common sense understands, right? Tree canopy, shade, fights the urban heat island effect here in Miami. They're healthy, they're psychologically healthy, they absorb water. Other cities are using them as green infrastructure for stormwater runoff, and that's a major problem, as we know, here in Biscayne Bay, is all the effects of stormwater runoff, because the city of Miami doesn't clean its streets, and so there's so much debris in the storm drains that heads into the bay. So, all of this is connected: stormwater, trees, the built environment, and we're trying to bring all of those pieces together and educate kids to take pride in their city and become civically engaged. Miami, as I flew in today, I was visiting my family in Ohio. We have a family farm up there. And the farmhouse is out in the country, and it's surrounded by agricultural and woods. And, my closest neighbor is a half a mile away. And as you fly into Miami and see the density and see the number, it's just so intense here. And obviously you keep an eye out for those large tracts of urban green space and waterfront access. And let's face it, more and more of those are disappearing every day. So kudos to Rose and her project, the coalition that they've put together, because I think for people that are really concerned about Miami and sometimes lose hope, right? I mean, you think, can I really make a difference? Can I really affect change? And I think that they have proven that if you're persistent and you're positive and you build consensus, it can still happen. Change can still happen. And Rose, I will tell you that With Dade Heritage Trust and our work throughout Miami-Dade County, you guys have provided a template for other areas of this county who are facing the same issues, but may not have the know-how about how to assemble a coalition. People in the Grove have a sense of empowerment already. Let's face it. I know, because overall, the Grove is affluent. The Grove is made up of educated people. You can't say that about other areas in Miami. And I'll roll this back to trees. Huge issues when it comes to environmental justice in Miami. The wealthy neighborhoods have all the trees. I mean, go to other neighborhoods that are not so affluent, and the heat island effect and the negative health effects of not having those tree canopies is known. The Miami-Dade County is currently undergoing a redo of their canopy assessment, and more. I mean, health benefits, COVID, all of that is wound into communities that don't have the trees that Coconut Grove has. So we're thrilled that we've woven this into our mission, because it has been very fundable. Everyone understands the benefits of trees, and if we can, through our Miami Urban Tree Trekkers program, if we can build advocates and young minds and get them to understand that they can indeed take ownership of their community, and they can let elected officials know what's the right thing to do, then we have a positive nature for the future of Miami. And it's going to be challenging, but I rose with what you've done here. I think we all can keep the faith.
Listen, I want to say this. You hear me because I'm the one that's calling you. We have Fabian here who's been out there knocking on doors. Rachel Cardello, Derek Farrell, Isaac Kotze, Scott Silver. This is not me. This is a group of us. The thing is that I'm the one calling.
I know you're not doing it all.
They are huge in what we do.
Right. Well, thank all of you for your good work. I mean, again, you've really provided a template, and so at a later time, I'd love to drill down with you guys about how you put this all together and how you affected the change that you did. So, congrats. If anybody has any questions, I'm happy to take them.
Yes, I want you to tell them very quickly, because there's people here that have children.
Okay.
How they can participate in your month program.
Sure. So if you go to our website, dadeheritagetrust.org, you can find out information about how to participate in Miami Urban Tree Trekkers. My education team has been very nimble through COVID. What they do is they go out live to educators, and they do a field experience via Zoom. So the kids and the educators aren't just looking at a PowerPoint program. They're actually experiencing 3 different habitats in Miami. Virginia Key, North Point Park, which is beautiful. There's actually petrified mangroves out there. If you've ever taken a walk on Virginia Key, North Point, it's fabulous. They go to Simpson Park, which is an urban forest in Brickell, and then they also go to A.D. Doug Barnes Park, which is in Miami-Dade County. So they measure trees, they measure the canopy, they talk about the carbon consumption, and then we put in an arts component. The whole program has been designated a STEAM partner for Miami-Dade County: science, technology, engineering, arts, and math, because of the nature of the program. And we're changing, we're really influencing these kids. It's remarkable. And what's great is that they're able to explore parts of Miami that normally they don't get to know. In pre-COVID times, and hopefully soon, we will be engaging these kids in live field experiences, and we really target low-income kids, Title I school kids, because these are kids that very rarely leave their neighborhood. And so if we can get them exploring and exposed to nature, then we're doing something good.
When we were kids,
Not that long ago.
we would pick up cans, and we were talking about it earlier. to just get the 10 cents or whatever it is as an incentive, but indirectly you cleaned up, you kept the environment kind of clean.
Right.
Just a thought, maybe talking to the county or through the state, where is an incentive for each homeowner to plant a tree, where there will be a financial incentive, because just even with one tree, maybe they get a $25 deduction in their taxes. But so is that something you can?
Yeah, we're going to be making recommendations to both the City of Miami and Miami-Dade County ways to increase tree canopy and preserve the old growth trees that are here. That's a great idea. Miami-Dade County always does free tree giveaways, as does an organization called Citizens for a Better South Florida. So the thing that concerns me is that somebody can get a tree and put it in their breezeway or the carport and maybe never plant it, right? So really the key is the government's actually doing tree planting themselves and ensuring that those trees are properly maintained. I mean, if you look at a city like Coral Gables, right, I think it's probably, the epitome of tree canopy. The majority of those trees are street trees, and those were planted many, many years ago as part of the original city plan.
I have a quick question. So one of the sort of the harder parts of the tree preservation is that trees are living and they will die. It is just their natural evolution that there's an age for trees that they start to decline and they do become dangerous. But so my question is, during the canopy or the mutt process, is there a way to sort of document those trees that are sort of at the end of their life just from the natural aging process, so that the county or the city can say, hey, there's a tree that's going to be gone maybe in 5 years. So let's start planting younger trees in that area now. So when that tree goes in 5 years, we've already got something sort of heading its way.
Yeah, we haven't even considered that. Yeah.
And I think, even in the Grove, like, there's so much old growth, but it just can't physically be here forever. I mean, so what's the... So if it's self-propagating, then maybe it's not an issue. But I just get nervous when it's more of an urban condition and you see the trees that don't really, because we're leaf blowing it away and they don't really have the opportunity to self-propagate maybe as much. If there's a way to kind of supplement the cycle and make sure we don't have big gaps somewhere, that we, have an opportunity as you're kind of surveying out there to take a look.
Great. Good idea. Yeah. I also wanted to say that we will be having our education team come over here to the Villa Woodbine property, and we're going to do the first time we're going to do this, we're going to do a video of the trees and assess the trees on this property, and then that will be available for educators and parents on our website permanently.
I think that's critical, because that information is not available to children. It's not part of any program. And so as long as we have the opportunity to do so in the next couple of weeks, I think it's important that you do that.
Absolutely. I'll get with you to set something up.
Yes.
All right.
Any questions for her?
Is the school board doing anything with children in educating them towards the importance of trees and the environment?
I don't know if it's woven into their curriculum, but certainly I will tell you that our program is so popular. We have, in fact, my educator was supposed to come this afternoon, but she had a tour today. We have tours scheduled every single day from a variety of schools now via Zoom. So it's extremely popular, and in some cases, when there are groups like Dade Heritage Trust presenting this quality curriculum, we can fill in those gaps that teachers may not have time for, or sometimes the teachers are always teaching to the test, right, to the state standards test. So that's what we consider our work. We're essentially filling in those gaps.
So I have another question. When we were up in Europe at a few times, I've seen roofs with grass on it.
Yes.
I would love to do that to see that here in Miami. Is that, do you know anything about
those
that,
are also going to be part of our recommendations. That is, there's so much that governments could do in South Florida to ensure that new development is compliant with more stringent green standards. I mean, I know at with Dade Heritage Trust, I receive notices of all what's called a waiver or a warrant, meaning a change to the current zoning code to Miami 21. And so a lot of times developers will ask for decreased setbacks instead of increased setbacks. What that means is that they can cover a lot with more concrete, meaning that there's less pervious area, or there's less places to plant. So I think Miami overall, when it comes to planning, needs to take a look at our environmental future to see how future development, I mean, nobody believes Miami should be frozen in time, but how future development can assure a healthier environmental future for Miami. These are simple, really simple, common sense solutions that just haven't quite made it to the policy.
You know about the planning?
Yes, I do.
Planning and zoning?
Yep, yep.
They're trying to fix it.
I know.
If you all don't know, Miami 21 doesn't get to the point of what we're talking about. So the Planning and Zoning Board tomorrow night has an item on the agenda to change Miami 21 to talk about neighborhoods and specifically what needs to change. And Andy Parrish, who was here this morning, is leading that charge. So if you can attend the meeting, it starts
What day, what time?
tomorrow at 6:30.
In the morning?
No. Who gets up at 6:30? Oh, not me. So it's very important. Very important.
I asked you, Joyce, because tomorrow we have.
I know. I know.
But we'll be at the next one.
It's a conflict, I know, but I did my writing, sent it off.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thanks for the invitation. I really appreciate it. What a beautiful venue. Oh, Ms. Lewis.
I wonder if you. No, no, I can boom. I wonder if you. Stop. This is for so they can get it from social media to everybody, so it's not just us that gets to hear it.
I wonder if you could compare, off the top of your head, a brand new 50,000 square foot office multifamily structure in comparison to a rehab, retrofitted 50,000 square foot historic building, also multifamily, as to the environmental impacts.
Rehab versus new?
Yeah.
Sure. When you rehabilitate an existing historic building or an existing building, it doesn't even have to be historic, you're essentially saving the footprint that's already there. I mean, you guys have seen this in the Grove probably more than anyone when it comes to new construction, where once there was a quaint 1,800 square foot home and it's being replaced by a 5,000 square foot home that encompasses the entire lot. So, Lynn, I don't know if that's what you're getting at, but older homes traditionally have more, older developments traditionally have more green space around them. And in the case of, I can tell you from experience, Dade Heritage Trust is rehabilitating a multifamily historic residential building in Little Havana, and it's a corner lot, and it has a lovely green space. The older homes also have no parking requirements, or those older buildings have no parking requirements. So for a newer development, now you have the parking pedestal requirement, right? And so, to make the money work, the developer obviously has to build a larger footprint. They're also in the city of Miami. There's no no requirement for the amount of pervious space on a new development. No requirement. They can call it like this. I don't know what's under this, but if this were concrete with AstroTurf, that would be considered green space, even though it's not pervious.
Just very quickly, Coral Gables and South Miami have major requirements of green space, like double the percentages in Coconut Grove, which is very unusual for the grove that has the lush tree canopy, and it's let your conscience be your guide here.
Right. So the impacts to the environment for new development are far greater than rehabilitation of existing structures. Did that answer your question?
Yes, thank
That was a great question. Yes, Steve.
Chris, in terms of heat island effects, is it just a matter of planting more trees, or is the asphalt treated differently?
Well, there's many things that can be done with regard to surfaces not being so hot. Other cities are doing it. They're replacing asphalt with other surfaces that don't throw off so much heat. I mean, let's face it, smaller trees take a long time to grow and create a lush tree canopy, but it's better to start now and make something happen for the future. As far as the percentages, streets versus trees, I don't know. I could maybe reach out to my research team and find out.
No, I was also thinking about white roofs and white roads, for that matter.
Right.
And taking away a lot of our roads. We've created so much of our city as an impervious surface.
Absolutely.
And then we blame the rain on creating floods.
That's
well, we've
right.
created the floods by
right.
creating our cities that are asphalted over.
That's right.
And soaking up all this energy from the sun. And then we need more air conditioning to keep people from heat prostrating, and it's just a terrible vicious cycle.
It is, and you think that we need to be smarter as we develop. I mean, if you're anywhere, if you're at an intersection in Miami, I would encourage you just to look around sometime and look at the amount of concrete and pavement versus the amount of green space in a city that desperately needs it, especially in poorer neighborhoods. Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you, Chris.
My pleasure.
So, girls, I think you should come up here and see this. This is very special. It's an amazing performance. Come sit up front. So I want to say that when we put this program together, we wanted to have someone involved in the arts, okay? And we have phenomenal photography coming up in our auction, but when we thought of contacting Rosie Herrera, it was truly serendipity that we managed to connect. We tried via email, we tried via phone, and this is what I'd like you to know about her. The concept of art in the environment, art's power to delight, educate, stimulate, and inspire resilient solutions. And let me tell you a little bit about Rosie Herrera. She is a choreographer with the Art Center. She is acclaimed and considered the best in Manhattan, Chicago, LA. Miami has a tendency, you're not a prophet in your homeland, but I think when you get a sense of what she's going to do today, you're going to enjoy, number one, that she is incredible, and I'm going to say this about her. El Don is a 20-minute world premiere. This is a world premiere you are now seeing. This was done exclusively for us for this Earth Day celebration. Performance by Rosie Herrera Dance Theater, choreographed especially for the Earth Day 2021 Summit. It aims to create new rituals for our fragile Earth, using the theme of dons, or gifts. This work celebrates Miami's unique beauty, humor, and glamorous tropical nature, pulling together a cast of incredibly diverse dancers, each reflecting Miami's rich cultural landscape. This new work oscillates from highly acrobatic movement to campy drag. Woo! performances, and opera, and culminates in an interactive meditation that invites the audience to pray with the dancers for the collective healing of the earth. Rosie Herrera and her dance troupe.
It's only 4 degrees, it's only 4 degrees. 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 I wanna see this world, I wanna see it boil. I wanna see this world, I wanna see it boil. It's only 4 degrees, it's only 4 degrees. It's only 4 degrees, it's only 4 degrees. I wanna hear the dogs crying for water. I wanna see the fish go belly up in the sea. And all those lemurs and all those tiny creatures, I wanna see them burn, it's only 4 degrees. And all those rhinos and all those big mammals, I wanna see them lying, crying in the fields. I wanna see them burn, it's only 4 degrees. I wanna see them burn, it's only 4 degrees. I wanna see them burn, it's only 4 degrees. I wanna burn them, I wanna burn them. I wanna burn them, I wanna burn them. I wanna burn the sky, I wanna burn the breeze. I wanna see the animals die in the trees. Let's go, it's only 4 degrees. 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 I wanna burn them. I wanna burn them. Monday. Ça pour faire moi, Monday. Ça pour faire moi, maman moi c'est mambo, papa moi c'est un commande. Ça pour faire moi, Monday. Ça pour faire moi, Monday. Ça pour faire moi, maman moi c'est mambo, papa moi c'est un commande. Ça pour faire moi.
Ah, ça pour faire, manger ça pour faire, manger ça pour faire, brûler ça pour faire, ma chalandé.
Manger ça pour faire, ça pour faire moi, maman moi c'est mambo, papa moi c'est un commande. Ça pour faire moi. Monday, ça pour faire Monday, ça pour faire moi, maman moi c'est mambo, papa moi c'est un commande. Ça pour faire moi, Monday, ça pour faire Monday, ça pour faire moi, maman moi c'est mambo, papa moi c'est un commande. Ça pour faire moi.
Ah, ça pour faire, manger ça pour faire, manger ça pour faire, ça pour faire, ma chalandé.
Monday, ça pour faire. Ça pour faire moi, maman moi c'est mambo, papa moi c'est un commande. Ça pour faire moi.
Gracias a la vida que me ha dado tanto, me dio dos luceros que cuando los abro perfecto distingo lo negro del blanco y en el alto cielo su fondo estrellado. Y en las multitudes del hombre que yo amo. Gracias a la vida que me ha dado tanto, me ha dado el oído que en todo su ancho graba noche y día, grillos y canarios, martillos, turbinas, ladridos, chubascos y la voz tan tierna de mi bien amado. Gracias a la vida que me ha dado tanto, me ha dado el sonido y el abecedario, con él las palabras que pienso y declaro, madre, amigo, hermano y luz alumbrando la ruta del alma del que estoy amando. Gracias a la vida que me ha dado tanto, me ha dado la marcha de mis pies cansados, con ellos anduve ciudades y charcos, playa playas y desiertos, montañas y llanos, y la casa tuya, tu calle y tu patio. Gracias a la vida que me ha dado tanto, me dio el corazón que agita su marco cuando miro el fruto del cerebro humano, cuando miro el bueno tan lejos del malo, cuando miro el fondo de tus ojos claros. Gracias a la vida que me ha dado tanto, me ha dado la risa y me ha dado el llanto. Así yo distingo dicha de quebranto, los dos materiales que forman mi canto, y el canto de ustedes que es el mismo canto, y el canto de todos que es mi propio canto. Gracias a la vida.
Rosie. Just a moment. We're not letting her leave just like that. Rosie Herrera has finished 5 movies. Her most recent movie is on climate gentrification, and she can tell you her personal experience. She's a baby. I think you're under 30, aren't you?
No, ma'am, I am not under 30.
Well, all right. She's still a baby. And she will tell you sincerely how she has experienced being moved out of neighborhood after neighborhood after neighborhood. I think you need to tell that story.
Sure, I'm happy to. Thank you guys so much. I love you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, you guys can come out and hang out afterwards. So, do you mind if I take my mask off? I'm vaccinated. I should have like a bow that says like I'm vaccinated. Hi, thank you guys so much for coming to the performance and being interested or investing in something that's something so close to my heart. I am a Miami girl, born and raised in Hialeah, and I have continuously gone through, I think, like 3 cycles of getting pushed out of neighborhoods. When I was very young and I lived in Little Haiti, and I was an up-and-coming choreographer, and then I became a more successful choreographer, and then I get more and more notoriety as a choreographer and director. As my fame grew, I kept getting pushed and pushed and pushed into different neighborhoods, and I felt the contribution of so many of my friends that are artists and who are activists and who are deeply invested in their communities and deeply invested in the people of those communities, and so deeply connected to nature, keep getting pushed out. And one of the things that's really hard for me as a person that's born and raised in Miami and an artist in Miami who recognizes the unique beauty of the artistic language that comes from here, it's really hard to see who are the people that are empowered to define what a community, what a neighborhood should be. And that's something that's hard for me. You know, communities develop their own language and their own beauty and glamour. And when someone else comes in, whether with good intentions or not, and decides that this is what that community needs, I'm sure every woman in this room can understand what that feels like. Men too, I'm just kidding. And so it's been hard to see these communities change over time. And so when I was approached by Rose to be a part of this performance, I thought, as someone who has never really had a lot of money, and that's not been my path, that the biggest contribution I can do is to keep talking about how beautiful South Florida is, how beautiful South Florida artists are, and how important it is to preserve the communities that make our work so unique and relevant, which is why we get booked so often to leave and to perform in New York and Chicago and Pittsburgh, because people want to see the color and the tropical vitality that we bring to their community. And so the only way to preserve that is to really care and to love the land that we're on. So I'm just really grateful to be able to contribute to something that is so important to me with the most valuable contribution I have, which is art. And we take what we do really seriously. When we say a prayer for the earth, we really do. It's not just grant lingo. We really do. We really mean it. So thank you for having me, and thank you for your generosity and openness.
Does anybody have any questions for her? No questions?
Anybody want flowers?
Aw, we're the ones that should have had flowers for you. By the way, your husband left you the most amazing.
I know.
Beautiful. There you go.
Can you tell us a little bit about the inspiration behind what we just saw?
So, I'm sure that you have your own interpretation of what you saw, but I can tell you a little bit about what our research was like, although I really want you to hold on to feeling whatever it was that you felt or thought or understood or misunderstood. I'm happy with that. But we were trying to find an object that kind of embodied overconsumption, and plastic seemed to be the thing that we felt like we could most connect to and manipulate. And so for me, these chairs are so like ubiquitous white plastic South Florida chair. And so we started playing with this plastic chair ballet as a way to kind of tell the story of overconsumption and the kind of destruction that comes from that. And the movement is built from that. The section in the work with the Unraveling Showgirl is really inspired by the Little Haiti neighborhood. My amazing collaborator, Karine, who is the dancer, is Haitian, and she herself was gentrified out of Little Haiti. And so our theme with this work was to really show the beauty and uniqueness of this dancer, and to have the very thing that makes them unique and beautiful stripped away from them, and then have that thing become a burden or a baby. And so the final scene was intended to bring vitality and earth and fertility back to her with the flowers. But yeah, so that's kind of like the research we've been doing, thinking a lot about how the body relates to space and how you feel in certain spaces and what that brings out of you. We actually just finished completing virtual reality work, which is kind of based on the same theme of climate gentrification. So we've been kind of in that research for a while. But I'm not that interesting. It's not like I'm like, oh, climate gentrification, that's something I'm interested in talking about. No, I'm just it's just happening to me. So yeah, well, I started on the beach. Well, I started in Hialeah, and I will always rep Hialeah till I die. And then I was on the beach. I was in Little Haiti. I was back on the beach, and now I'm in North Beach. And I remember the neighborhood that I was in Little Haiti, the first week that I moved there, my car got broken into 3 times. I was yeah, it was just a rough neighborhood. And then fast forward to 5 years later, and they increased my rent by 400% in 1 month. And they used photographs of my apartment and said, wow, internationally recognized choreographer Rosie Herrera lives in this building. Rosie Herrera, painted this mural here and planted these trees here, and then kicked me out. I think a lot of people misunderstand success, especially in the artistic world, as coinciding with financial stability. It doesn't happen. You know, like I've won all the big awards, not all of them. Wait, MacArthur. I've won like a lot of the big awards, and it doesn't translate to that. It's just survival. And so it's just important to say, you know, what we do is like financially unfeasible. In order for dancers to make money, we have to charge like $300 a performance, you know? So everybody that's here works jobs, whether it's at the Humane Society or at an office or whatever, to be able to supplement doing this work. And that's something that people don't talk about a lot. The investment of the artists, especially of the dancers, who are also collaborators, in their time and the money that they have to make to be able to be here to do work like this, which I think is, relates to this question of who gets to stay, who gets to decide what this neighborhood should or shouldn't be about, or what gets said. And we all see that, you know? I think we all see that. Is there anything else you want to ask me?
I think that's phenomenal. And before you, here we go.
How can we follow you?
Great question.
You can follow me now. No, you can follow me on Instagram at Rosie Herrera Dance Theater. My company is just Rosie Herrera Dance Theater .dance, because I lost my domain. And we're on Facebook at Rosie Herrera Dance Theater. When I first named my company, I wanted to call it Fiasco Dance Theater because it was bilingual. But my dad was like, if you don't put Herrera on every single thing you do, you are disowned. So I was like, Rosie Herrera Dance Theater, Rosie Herrera Cabaret, Rosie Herrera, with all the R's rolled as many times as possible. So it's just Rosie Herrera Dance Theater on all of those platforms. So yeah, please follow us. Thank you guys so much.
Okay. I think there's some board members here, and I need you to come up. If you're a board, Scott, okay? Yvonne and Derek. Where's Derek? Come on. Who else is here? Yes, we're going to do Alex Moskowitz. Where's Rachel? Rachel! And where are your dancers?
Oh, they're de-sweating. Do you want me to bring them down?
I think it would be lovely to have them in this photograph.
Okay, I'll go get them and then I'll come back for a photo shoot.
I love it. Okay. And then anybody else that wants to be in a photograph, I think this is a great time to take a photograph with her crew. Right.
Maybe they should put their costumes back on. I'll be right back.
Okay. All right. So wait a moment. So listen, I am really happy that you had the opportunity to experience this, and we hope throughout the next year to do much more in the area of art for the ages.
I guess she handed me a microphone.
That's right.
I'd like to say something about big kind of started small. We took on this house, this property, and said, we wanted to do something to make sure that this gentrification, this pushing out, these changes that we don't want, and people in the Grove are very, very vocal. There are many voices. This is just one more organization that's doing that, but it segued into something a little bit more. I think one of the things that was very important in terms of, we had an issue where we wanted the neighbors to intervene in the historic preservation review before the city commission, and we were told no. We appealed it to the circuit court. We were told no again. So as one of my law professors once told me, if you don't like the law, change the law. So Francis Suarez sponsored a resolution to provide for, and I think this is part of the impetus of what happened here, to provide for standing for neighbors in historic and environmental preservation. So it doesn't just help our organization, it helps all neighbors, all organizations. So as we're segueing into something bigger than just this, we've kind of renamed ourselves. It was Bayshore and Grove. It's kind of big voices for activism, and I think it's a group that can help and wants to help other groups become active in the community. We've segued from one house. We want to save the world now. My feeling about the environment is the world is going to be fine. The world is going to be fine. People are screwed, but the world's going to be fine. So I think it's really our place in the world is what we're really talking about, and trying to do what we can for our little time here. I think we're all renters. We're just borrowing these bodies and borrowing this time for a little bit of time, and I think this is what we can do within that time, I think is important.
Right. Is there, I'm sorry? Less is more, and there's food I get. That means he's trying to cut me off here. We're going to wait for them to come out, but please, let's start having something to eat. They're passing food. Thank you. Yes. She went to get the dancers dressed up. We can do it later. So you're... Hello, hello. I'd like to take the opportunity to say that we happen to have two very special people here. Phyllis Bellinger, come on up, and Commander Wesleyan Lewis Francis, come on up. So I'd like to introduce them to you, and I want you to feel like you have a new friend here. Phyllis Bellinger started the START program on Grand, what's the address?
3807 Grand Avenue. 3807 Grand Avenue.
And I will tell you that right when COVID began, and my daughter, sitting over there, was trying to keep track of my whereabouts, I kept running off to meet with Phyllis and talk to her about this incredible program that she has. I'm going to say something briefly about it, but I want you to hear it directly from her. She has had this program, and it is truly an amazing... you want me to put it on? Okay, I'm sorry. Oh, yes, look at who I have here, the cops. I better put it on. Whoa. Okay, so what I'd like to say really about the program, that I was fascinated and that I have been trying to get a collaboration with Miss Phyllis Bellinger here and our organization. And I'll tell you what we tried to do. There's a Comcast program that we needed 20 children, and we would have been able to provide these children and their homes and their families with internet for a full year for $10 a month, and for $150, a refurbished laptop. We tried to do this program. The problem was that with COVID, she didn't have the attendance we needed. We needed a minimum of 20 children. In the process, I've stayed in touch with her, and I've said, Phyllis, we have to do something, because to me, as a Cuban exile that I am, I can tell you what my father taught us is that education is the only thing no one can take from you. And education is what gets you out of everything. And what she has is a program that takes the children that, instead of being out there running around on their bikes or raising hell like I used to do, these children go to her facility where she has state-of-the-art technology, and she has children from ages, and I'll let her tell you more, but as 9 to 17 or 18, and she has an incredible program. And you're taking children that are motivated already, that are in her classroom setting, trying to improve their lives and what they can contribute to the community. So let her tell you about the program.
Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you, Ms. Rose. Okay. Hi, I am the Executive Director of the Striving to Attain Remarkable Teens program, affectionately known as START. I am a native and current resident of Coconut Grove Village West. And it was the desire of myself and some other professionals that were reared in West Coconut Grove to give back to the community that gave so much to them. So in 2014, we got together and we started the START program. Now, the START program attempts to help to lessen the achievement gap of individuals who, because they do not have access to things such as technology and other materials necessary to be able to achieve academically, it provides them with those resources. And also, again, in making sure that we educate the whole child, we do a variety of different distinctive features, such as we do financial literacy. We also do health and fitness and community service. We also make sure that they have tutoring. We do STEAM activities. We also make sure that each and every one of them go home with a hot meal. We also do cultural excursions, which we call journeys, which are very impactful on the young men and women that we service. We are definitely a grassroots program, and again, we just really enjoy seeing our young people recognize. Oh, also we do entrepreneur activities as well. So we want to make sure that the young people whose lives we touch, that they really recognize that they are truly diamonds in the rough. Everyone has something of value that they can contribute to their community and society. And also, I would just like to add that we do have several individuals who have come together with us in collaboration. And one of those individuals that has done so is Commander Wesleyan Louis Francois. And so I'm going to pass the mic over to her. And again, you have an open invitation to come by 3807 Grand Avenue so that you could see the facility. Currently, due to COVID and CDC guidelines, we are in a hybrid mode, which means that we have some students that are showing up to our building and others we are servicing by means of Zoom. Okay, but we never have, since the beginning of COVID, we have never lost contact with our participants. And also, we expanded our meal program to include individuals from the community. And again, we also based it on the youth. So here, I'm going to pass the microphone over to Commander Lewis.
What am I supposed to talk about, Rose?
Let me say, hi, met up with these ladies. I have a tendency to escape my whereabouts in my home, where I have my daughters and granddaughters watching what I do. There they are. And these ladies, what they have is so special because I will often see not just people that she's serving, Commander Louis Francois, who is very knowledgeable about what's happening in West Grove. And I think that us as a community, we need to know what's happening in the areas around us. And it can't just be about what's happening in our immediate area. So I would like her to tell you a bit of some of the programs that are going on in West Grove.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. Like these ladies have mentioned a couple of times, I am Commander Wesleyan Louis Francois of Coconut Grove, City of Miami Police Department. And I guess my bit would kind of just expand on the partnership that we have in the West Grove, the Grove as a whole, the START program, and many other organizations throughout the Grove. So I've been on the police department for about 15 years, and I consider myself to be a community policing officer. One of my first official positions as a police officer, besides road patrol, was a neighborhood resource officer. And that was to go ahead and work in the neighborhood that I was assigned to and just finding out the resources that were needed for that particular community. Since then, I've worked in various communities throughout the city, working with different entities, faith-based organizations, whoever wanted to partner up with the police department and to make sure that we're addressing the needs of that community. So last year, Super Bowl Sunday, I came to the Grove and I was assigned to the Grove as the police commander. And one of the first places that my officers that were already working here brought me to was the START program. And I pretty much have hijacked Mrs. Bellinger's place. And I say hijacked because I turned it into our hub. And when she talks about some of the things that her program is already doing, I thought it was the best place that we can take to expand a neutral location where the kids are already comfortable, the officers are already there doing their own mentorship as part of the program, so we work with each other. When she talks about expanding food services, my officers serve food, they pack up food, they deliver food. I cook. I am not cooking for anyone, so do not make any requests. It's strictly for the kids. But we just wanted to make sure that not only that we're providing safety and security, but that we are embedded in the community that we're serving, and that we're not only looked as law enforcement, but looked at as an additional resource to help serve the community. So we met numerous times and talked about what we can do, and we expanded the financial literacy program by doing a young entrepreneurship workshop. We brought in financial institutions, taught the kids how to set up a business, how to run your business, how to bring all your materials and set up for the day and talk to your customers. We brought financial institutions to talk to them and set up how to set up accounts and learn how to be fiscal responsible. We taught etiquette to the young ladies and to the young men, conflict resolution. We kind of intervene to make sure that we're giving the kids other options. It's not always about making an arrest. It's not about taking someone to jail, but letting them kind of figure out the problem as long as we're not, talking about something of a criminal nature. And that's something that we've been doing since I've been here. And we want to, as things start opening up, increasing some of the activities. We do movie nights with the kids in the Grove. We do bike rides, if some of you have seen them. We do park and talk, where we talk to the kids, we talk to the community. We host Zoom meetings. So like Mrs. Bellinger said, we are in a hybrid state where we can't always have everybody participate, but we're always trying to reach out to as many children, as many families as possible. And I'm very grateful for the partnership and the acceptance from Mrs. Bellinger and the West Grove community. So moving forward, we were talking to Ms. Rose, and we're saying, as many different programs that we can and expand and touch as many children as we can, we want to do that. And Mrs. Bellinger said something earlier, and she does not attempt to close the gap. She closes the gap. Okay, so there's no attempt there. She closes the gap because we've seen so many of our kids, even from when they started, from the time that I've observed them, learn how to speak better in public, learn how to work with others, learn how to be comfortable around law enforcement because of the relationship. So the START program, her type of grassroots initiative, is something that we need and we need to support. And as long as I'm here, we will always have a great working relationship. She can call me at any time. And this is something that we should truly, truly honor and invest in. Thank you.
I just wanted to also, because I negated to say this, is the statistic that we're very proud of at the START program. By day, I am a Miami-Dade County public school teacher, and I have been teaching. This November will be 34 years. And everyone that is associated with the START program, education is what we do. We have 91 years combined experience that we are able to help our young people. So again, we just invite you to come out so that you can also feel the sense of family that's there. so that again, you will see that if you happen to be so generous as to donate, whether it's your time, that you'll see a definite return on your investment. You're welcome.
So, no. So let me take the opportunity. We're going to take a quick shot with the troupe. Look at that. Amazing. The rest of the board, get over there, please. Come on, Bill, hurry.